Ah, ah, ah. Testing. Ah, ah. How's this work? Hmm? Five. Oh, it's delayed. I'm watching myself about 5 seconds later on YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna call. It might call echo. See, gonna call. I'm gonna try to invite. Let's see. Oh, mm, mm. Let's see. I was answering a. Let me see if I can get him on. Hey, Mike Nigro in Pensacola area, Panama City. How are you? Happy New Year's. Uh, would you be interested in zooming with me at this moment? I'm te I'm testing out. I'm testing out the capability of placing it on almost instantly. It's delayed by a sec, so zoom with me uh, as soon as you can. Hear this. I'll wait for you, and I'll try to get Dom also invite Dominic. So you're invited. 407-486-8242. All right. You there? Hmm. 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 Not there. Wonder who's there. Oh, maybe I could put it there. Uh, oh, I'm typing in. I was wondering if you would join us for a 10-minute, no, 5-minute, 6-minute Zoom meeting right now. mm, zoom.us/J/407486642. That works. Let's see. Hmm, I think that works. Hmm, oops. Mhm. Delete. Understand. See if this works. Mhm. Let's see if I typed in the link to join. Let's see if it works. I am joining with another phone. Might get some echo. Mhm, Admit. Mm, Go back. Got it. Got it. Oh. Okay. Oop, there's no echo. There might be a little bit when we get the volume low. So that's pretty good. I got Zoom on two phones. I think they're two different accounts too. Okay. Yeah. Mm. So I'm testing to see if it works. Let's see. I'm going to go back to. Uh-oh. I muted the the mic on this phone. On this phone that I'm shaking. Oh, okay. And so what am I going to do? Oh, I was going to go to Messenger. See if I can invite some people to join. I will go to Messenger. Yep, copy the link. Uh, under, uh, if you're not, hey Matt, kiss. Yeah, boy. Come on, dude. It's hey Matt. No, let's try this. Damn, come like this. Okay, let's see if I go. No. Let's see if I can invite him. Hey Matt, kiss. Are you there? Are you bored? I'm not bored, but I'm inviting you, if you're bored, to join us on Zoom. I'll place the link right now after this message. Well, you can just say hello and then leave whenever. Let's see. Okay, let's go to another person. Hmm. Fred Cantor, Soldi Para, Sonia, Durga. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, happy. Hmm. Birthday between holidays. Hmm. Must be hectic to have a birth this time. Hmm. 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 Join us. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, we got. Hmm, let's see. We got some. Hmm, hmm, hmm. I'm gonna put. Are you there? Hey, Rami, are you there? Okay. Hmm, hey. Hmm, hmm. Hey, hey, Dominic.
Good morning, Jairo.
Good morning, Dominic. How are you?
I'm getting up, but I'm pretty good.
You're getting up.
Yeah, I've been sleeping till 9 o'clock the last couple of days.
Hmm. How was your Christmas?
Christmas was okay. I spent the time with my parents and my brother and his wife and my wife.
Hmm. Did Did you have a dinner?
Yes, my mom usually prepares quite a few courses of dinner. She enjoys preparing foods, and most of us, I think all of us enjoy eating it. Sometimes we eat a little bit too much, and then we end up playing an old Italian card game. It was funny. We play for quarters and nickels and dimes. So
Hmm. You play an Italian card game?
yeah, there's usually a lot of over exaggerating, a little cheating, making different rules. Me and my dad usually do that, and just to make it fun.
Cheating in a card game?
Yeah, we cheat. Yeah, it's cheating. Like how would we cheat? Sometimes we look at the cards before we give them to other people, and
Oh,
yeah, it's all for fun.
for fun.
And
But
then yesterday,
won't that influence you to cheat in real life? In the real card games in Las Vegas? So you
actually, I think the people, I think at Vegas, I think the industry itself does that quite well on their own. We're usually the suckers when it comes to that. It's all for fun. And yesterday we celebrated my dad's birthday, and same
oh,
about it, and
that's
my
right.
cousin.
He's
cousin.
70 something.
Mhm.
And what did I do? Oh, a lot of little things. And I'm still struggling with my to-do thing project to transcribe a talk, and I got maybe 40 minutes. Wow. I got a message saying our friend is in Orlando.
Who's that?
That would be Mike, the guy on the beach and on the
Oh, nice.
bicycle in Panama City.
Nice.
Yes. He says maybe he can come over and do a guest appearance.
That'll be nice.
Oh, and somebody's calling me. I'll decline because I don't know who that is. It's an 850 number. Whatever that. 800, 850. Maybe it's collection agency or something.
Let's hope you owe no. Let's hope you owe no money.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, oh, let's see. Oh, I can't. Oh, maybe I can use this phone because I got Messenger on both phones.
Mm-hmm.
I got one version of me on one phone and another one on the other. Let's see. And I'm streaming to YouTube.
Oh, even nice, Mike. Nice,
I think.
Jairo. I'm seeing at the top there, top left-hand corner, YouTube, live on YouTube.
So it's wake up and think clearly. Testing.
Mm.
One is watching now. That's me. It ends up. Oh, I have to hit play. Oh, it's about 5 seconds delayed.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm hearing like an echo, and you're saying it's 5 seconds late. That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, by the way, Jairo, that came to me the other day there about the concept of, I don't think it was the right word, but that's what came to me, tough love. You know.
Oh no, my phone is shutting down.
Uh-oh. Plug it in. Plug it in. No.
It says shutting down. I wonder if it'll stay on. It might be too late. Oh, it shut down. But maybe we're still connected. Let's see. Oh man. Tennessee Bonecart Road. Winter Park. 32792. Let's see if I can. Let's see. Oh, who's this? Let's increase the volume. Who's that? Is that Dominic? Is he still there? Hmm. I don't hear him. Oh, participants. Yeah. Yeah. I think I hear him still there. Then this phone is stayed on, so that kept us going. But the phone that I started with is off, so that means that maybe the YouTube video has stopped.
It's not. I'm still here,
Let's see.
Jairo.
I'll
Can
go
you
to
hear?
YouTube.
Mhm.
Yes. Let's see what happened in YouTube land.
YouTube land.
Let's see my channel, and then hmm, oh, let's see. Here it is. Let's see if it recorded it. Hmm. Oh, it's still streaming. Oh
I see
wow.
it. I see it says live.
Oh, it's still going,
Yep.
even though I shut down the phone that started the video and the
You see?
streaming.
Hmm.
It shut down, but the videos on YouTube is still going. It's
Nice.
delayed.
Nice.
It's about it's delayed about 3 seconds or
Mhm.
more. It's
Besides
funny.
being a test, anything particular you want to share, talk about, topic?
Oh yes. Ah, so what? Oh, I was I was on Facebook the other day on and I replied. I replied to someone who who started a conversation. It's usually a Christian kind of conversation. Let's see. And what was it? And then I asked, so is Jesus gay? So I asked that question. And then, of course, I got a few no answers. And then I asked, is Jesus bisexual? And someone said maybe or could be, but he wouldn't have any sexual lust or any sexual relationships, or
Hmm.
he would be he has no desire for sex.
How would anybody know that?
So that's how would anybody know that?
Yeah.
So I'd say would just because it's not in the four gospels that he had a wife or had a girlfriend. He may have had Mary Magdalene as a girlfriend. It, she was his favorite disciple or his closest disciple. Hmm.
You
And
know,
some
Jairo.
people kind of think of her as his wife.
Hmm.
And
That'd be like asking if Socrates was gay or was
so the
Socrates bi. You know what it is? It's trying to take today's uh, ongoing media conversation because trans, gay, straight, heterosexual, who would
yes.
you vote and all that kind of stuff, and then try to make it more so they can relate. But meanwhile, does it really matter if Jesus was gay or not? Like, I get it. We can entertain the ideal, but that'll be like saying if Buddha was a COO back in his day, everything changes. It's,
Mm.
it's like saying if Muhammad was a horse owner, or it's that's people taking cheap shots at something that, but would it even matter?
Mm.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes,
Like,
I was the one that started that question. Well,
okay.
the original post was something else, but it made me ask that question, and
Mhm.
so then it went along a little bit, and then the last time I answered, oh, because the a person was saying that I don't know how I can help you. You're you you you're 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 going into the direction of blasphemy. And so
No, that's not blasphemy.
I replied that well, there's no evidence that he did not have lust, and and you're saying that he wouldn't have any lust, but that's something that's human, that's human nature, and part of man's biology. So you're saying that he's a robot, that he wouldn't have feelings, like growing up through puberty, he wouldn't have had those kinds of feelings. He would just be a robot. Well, I don't want to follow a Jesus that is like a robot with no feelings, no this or that. And that, because then without that urge for sex, then there wouldn't be the the virtue, uh, or the merit of trying to control oneself against just raping every woman you see. You you develop some kind of virtue by controlling yourself, or like if that's an urge, you admire a person that decides, no, I'm not going to do this or that, versus a person that doesn't have that desire and just doesn't do anything about it. Like say, a, a person that decides, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. I've been practically an alcoholic all my life. I'm going to stop drinking. So there's virtue in that decision, and in abstaining, because it's hard to do, and you have to keep reminding yourself, in all situations you could relapse into drinking, going to parties, or your coworkers could influence you to go drink. So there's actually some merit in that decision. So that's a person to admire. But a person that has no sexual desire, and then what's there to admire, if he say, oh, he's celibate, oh, he's good, oh, he has no sexual desire, isn't that wonderful? What's the virtue in that? It's more virtuous to have sexual desire and be able to control it. There's virtue in abstaining from sexual desire, with all this media and stuff all over the place. So why follow a Jesus that is like a robot that has no sexual desire, no feelings, no nothing?
Well,
That's what I was trying
can,
to say.
can I input on a little bit there, Jaro?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the word Jesus out of there, because this is where people think Buddha or whoever, they own it, or they represent it. No, let's say the practice of sexual desire. Okay, let's take the name Jesus out of it, because that's just going to invite people to defend or attack something. So if you have a desire, which we all do, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the human experience. It's not about controlling it, because obviously when a person is doing too much of it, it shows that control is not something you can do. You experience it.
Oh,
People
that too.
desire, and then they lust, and then people do things called pedophilia. Other people will probably say it's wrong, and probably even myself, I would say it's not healthy for me, or it's wrong to me. But we also have people that kill each other in war. So all of them are things that we have an opportunity to experience. I'm not going to go out of my way to experience a hurricane. I'm not going to go out of my way to experience a volcano falling over my community. I might be in awe from a distance. I might be in, ooh, I can't believe that person just shot that person. That's part of what lust is. I'm going to lust to see something. So this is where people are trying to say, well, I'm trying to control it now. I said, no, it sounds like control's never worked for you, but you still want more of it. That's the form of insanity, trying to do the same thing with different results. It's not about controlling it. It's hopefully when I'm in it, I have the ability to not abuse it. So again, I don't personally like having those conversations, Jairo, with people that are Christians, because I realize I'm not listening to them. I'm listening to them preach about somebody else. That'll be like me hearing somebody philosophize, but meanwhile they're talking about Socrates. They're not talking about them. For you, you might be talking a little bit from your own personal experience. Maybe you do lust certain things. Jairo, we all do. We all lust things. It comes in a form. I collect drones for a while. That could be a form of lust. No, but what people usually do is they pick one particular thing. Well, what about sex? I said, that's just one form of lust. Not everybody has the opportunity to experience lust in that way. We're not going to be Hugh Hefner, but then again, that's each person's perception of it. A person that's a Christian is not going to understand that if they're trying to do celibacy. They're trying to do like a Lent. When they do Lent, they're trying to give up one particular things that most people do it. A person could say, I was in a coma for 3 months, so I didn't have lust. But when I woke up, damn, I'm hungry. So I know I'm all over the map here, but it's a conversation, Jairo, that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you have that conversation with somebody that openly admits he's a Christian, good luck having that conversation. It's the person that says, I'm going to leave my uniform of Christianity out the door. I'm going to bring my own uniform, my own human uniform. Because if Jesus, let's say there was a character named Jesus and he overcame lust, how are most of us going to understand that? It's like Buddha. If Buddha gave up attachment, and supposedly it took him many reincarnations, so they say, because most people aren't even going to even believe, let alone know that there's such thing as reincarnation. How are they going to grasp that? How many people would give up being a billionaire? And then to find out, well, is there lust being rich? Yes, there is. Is it wrong? That's where we get a little bit side channeled, where's wisdom in that? Where's discernment? Would I give up all my money if I know that I can no longer, have all the stuff that I want for myself? Yeah, but I would take a chance and say, well, maybe I'll start giving it away slowly to other people or sharing it in forms I buy things. That could be lust in there, that too. But if you were trying to corner a Christian, good luck with that one, Jairo. That's because Jairo, it'll be like me and you talking to a bunch of people that are in a cult. They're already in it. Good luck trying to convince them that it's right or wrong. That's why when people say things like, I agree or disagree, they're looking for validation. They're not looking for different explorations of ideals. And I know that. I hear that quite easily in other people because I know myself. I know when there's certain things I don't want to talk about because I already know how I feel about that. So why would I want somebody to challenge that unless I do that myself? That's a tough one, Jairo, because I know I've heard numerous of people trying to think that, oh, the Christianity is wrong. And to whose perception? It comes down to each individual's perception. There's a reason why some people join Christianity. No different asking somebody that's a politician to give up being a politician. But other people will say, well, I don't like politicians. Well, then don't vote for them or the system in itself. We do funny things, Jairo, when it comes to trying to defend our positions or attack other people's positions.
Recording in progress.
I know. I'm back. Joe was back. He's back. He's back. So as far as lust, Jairo, we all have it in our own ways. It's when the person says, is it right or wrong? Then people have to try to control, mask. Think about it. A lot of times people try to mask their ideals. Like, no, just share. If you truly are true to yourself, then you should have no qualms of sharing it. And if you're wavering on it, then you should share because there could be somebody out there that hopefully will give you their input on if they've experienced something similar. I'm not here to hear other people say they agree or disagree with me or think I'm right or I'm wrong. That's of no interest. I don't need to be around other people to get that validation. Again, I'm spinning ideals, Jairo. You're still going to spin it the way you think is best for you. But to bring in a character, let's say Jesus, where there's people that value the concept that maybe he never existed or he did exist. That's like having people talk about whether we did or didn't go to the moon. Follow the money. How much money was gained from all of that? And whether or not they did or not, that's like talking about poverty. Poverty will always exist when people don't realize, but follow the money. The people that are trying to help poor people are benefiting from it. So don't think that you're going to change their way of gaining from that. Again, that's me, yip-yapping, Jairo, and most people are going to either agree or disagree without, no, I'm not here to ask you to agree or just share, like some people's input is a form of a quick emoji or a I like or dislike. And other people will just say, they'll go on for a couple of minutes by chatting something, typing or talking about something that they don't agree, but they really don't put an input. Okay, so then it's like me talking about politics with somebody and telling from my gathering of information how supposedly it works. Now, somebody else might turn and say, well, Dominic, I don't think that's true. I said, well, then how do you think it works? I just shared how I view it, and it'll be like you, Jairo. How do you value the concept of, forget about lust, because we all lust. You could stop eating for 20 days and then lust apples because you really want to eat it. Some people think lust is a person's 24/7 thinking of that. Nah, that's rare, unless you really unconsciously or consciously think about the breath. But even that, we're not lusting. That's just something we do. Like I know, Jairo, with you will entertain the crap that comes out of my mouth because you're just taking it for what it is. Other people, they go through it like as though I gave them one of my books. I don't have a book, but let's say I wrote a book, and their job is to make sure I had every word correctly written and all that. I said, I'm not asking that, so that's why I say I try not to have conversations with Christians about what they value, because I realize they already know where they stand. And I'm not here to be converted or to tell you it's right or wrong. I'm not your parents that are going to say, well, what you just did was a beautiful painting, when I know from the outside, you're just trying to encourage them, but really you're discouraging them because you're giving them credit for something that it's really not that an amazing task what they did. People, that's the whole ideal of hope. Tell people stories. Oh, Jesus is going to come back and he's going to save you. From what? First of all, what is he going to save you from? For a lot of people, they go out and get really high mortgages, so he's going to save you from your own decisions. Well, yeah, but we got to buy a house. I said, nobody's telling you to buy nothing. We choose to do those things. People think Buddha was such an amazing character. Last time I remember the story, if it's true, the story was his mother died in childbirth. So therefore, he probably trying to figure out where death is. Where did my mom go? Because he got all the other obedient things that he had to do. He had to be a prince. Let's even examine that. How do I become a prince? What did my parents have to do to mislead or whatever to the community that we become kings and queens? Is that it? Isn't that a lust to be royalty? Is it wrong? Depends on what. I joke this when I say it with my buddies. It depends where you're standing. If you're standing like a king, then you're going to think that's right. And then next day you become a peasant. You might think that's wrong. Only if you think that you treat peasants bad. But if you treat your peasants better than you treat yourself, then you're okay if you wake up the next day as a peasant. If you know the king is treating people good, But again, that's me. I think doesn't mean I practice all. Jairo, I think we're getting a lot of feedback.
Oui.
I think it's your phone that you just brought in, Jairo.
There.
Is it okay now? Yeah, we're okay now. Thanks, Jairo. Yeah, it's just because I don't want to always have that feedback, and I feel like as though sometimes I'm in a tunnel talking to myself or to you. But again, Jairo, that's, I heard the other day that if I could share something, somebody was talking about the golden rule. And I'm like, but there was some double standard going on there. There was the golden rule of treat others the way you would want them to treat you. But then the person talked about treating people with kindness and positive. Well, that's not the golden rule then. You've already made a judgment. The golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. Let's go with that. Forget about whether they're going to treat you kind or not, because if you treat others if you want to be treated with meanness so you can get upset, or somebody wants, you want to argue with somebody, that's their golden rule. There is no universal golden rule. But yet that person said, but treat people with kindness. No, not you've judged now. You've determined that's what the golden rule is. Well, no, treat others the way you want to be treated. If I want to be treated like to be mean, that's fine. Where I would probably emphasize, ask others how they want to be respected, considered. If they want to be treated with loving kindness and that's not my makeup, then I said, thank you for telling me that. I'm not that person, then I'm going to leave. They could turn around and say, why not? Well, then ask me how I treat people. They say, I treat people like they're objects. Let's say somebody does that. See, this is where the concept of lust comes in. When people says, well, but if I treated the person with kindness, okay, but what's kindness? Well, I'm rough with them when I'm having sex. Okay. But that's the game that they have to play. And I'm only using sex as the example because we could talk about work, where a person will say, well, I own a company. I say, yeah, but you don't own the person. And don't think just because they work for your company that you own them.
Oh. Hmm.
Again, Jairo, you're not going to get that open flow conversation with somebody that's already professed to say that they're a Muslim or a Christian. You know,
So what to do? What to do with sexual desire or lust?
Sex is an energy.
Okay.
It's energy. So lust is also an energy. One is the body, the other one is the mind.
Oh.
So lust is the mind.
So what is energy?
Anything that's in motion, thoughts or emotions are in motion.
Anything that is in motion.
Yes.
Anything that is in motion. Yep. So anything that is in motion caused by our willpower or intention, maybe.
Jairo, that's another word of saying mental or thoughts or consciousness. These are all different words we're using. So if you try to control something, then it's going to try to get stronger, or you're building it up, you're damming it. So this, like damming, like, like when you dam water. So, and water's energy. So now trying to control lust will actually perpetuate it. Trying to do it without taking any accountability will perpetuate it, because now it's going to try to, something out there is going to try to teach you something. So, okay, well, you're doing it, but you're doing the action, but you're not thinking about it. You're not reflecting on it. Sometimes certain things you do, you have to be in the moment of doing, but you can also do other moments to reflect on what you just did. This is why we have memory, whether long-term or short-term memory. So when people do lust, what they're doing is they already are judging the word, what they think lust is, opposed to just looking back. It's just a word, the word lust. Okay, so how do I apply it? Because I can lust one thing or another. And this is where when people, I'm going to jump a little bit here, when people think of the word politics, they already have this, it will reveal if they already have a slant on it. Slant meaning that I like politicians or I hate politicians. And if they hate politics or politicians, then they have to put a character that they can relate to and say, okay, well, I hate Donald Trump. No, you hate politicians. Why? Because you hate the idea that it doesn't always come your way. Where if a person sits back long enough and says, but how does the system work? Then you realize, oh, the system was designed that way. Now, you might not agree with it or disagree with it. You might not like it, but then you have to look even further back, or you see sideways all the other different parts. Well, you need one for the other. Like our system that we're running now, out of all the system that's presented itself from humans, it's a system that has to play out. I'm not saying it's right, but it has to play out. Why? Because most people don't want to participate in the parts of the system. They just want what they can take out of it. It's like when people go to a family function, I'll use that as an example. If everybody's just going there through obligation or duty and what they take out of it, oh, I got a good meal out of it, and I did my due diligence, and then all of a sudden there's one person that's doing the fueling it for it all. Eventually, when that person is no longer there, it will collapse because nobody's actually participated. Okay, I'll bring some food. I'll bring the conversation. I'll bring the gifts. I'll make sure my kids are well behaved, whatever that may be. When they say well behaved might be in a form of, we live in a European family and they talk quite loud. So my kids are quiet, so they're not well behaved. It's twisted as that may sound, but when in Rome, act like the Romans. Act like the Romans. When in America, act like the Americans. The Americans, and I'm no offense to the Americans, when they go in other countries, they don't act accordingly. Same with Canadians. They don't act accordingly. They think, well, Canada's a very quiet, peaceful, passive people. Well, when you go to other countries, they don't act like that. Same with America. Most people in America, and even that's not really fair to say, because you go from state to state, Americans are different. City to city, it's different. You know, weather plays a major role in all that too. You know, so again, we lust things, we lust ideals, we lust the way we want things. And when you only bring it toward, remember, sex is, when it comes to the physical part, is an important component for the human race, because we wouldn't exist without it. Now, do we make it pleasurable? Yes, we also make our food pleasurable. Most people don't look at, is food healthy? Go ahead. You know, like we don't.
I couldn't hear you for after you said now, and then it went to like it was.
Okay. Well, I see you. I see recording now and YouTube. So can you hear me now, Jairo?
But it was only for a few seconds, so I missed a few key words. Like when you said that sex is important to keep the race going,
yes.
And then you went to something else.
Okay, so like, okay, I'll try to go that wave there. I'll go a little bit back. Sex is a key one we call about sex energy. The reproduction part of it, because in the physical contact, the sperm and the egg and all that. So it comes to the concept of what we call sex. Attraction. Attraction is a form of sex. So for us, we need that part, but we abuse it. If there's even such thing as abuse it, when we try to make it more pleasurable only, where it should be pleasurable, I guess, for most people. But we still have that dynamic going on with the sex genders, how we see each other. We don't respect each other. Hence the golden rule again, well, treat others the way you treat yourself. Well, all my buddies think that they're male macho guys, well, then I'm supposed to treat women the way that's clearly doesn't show that there, it shows how we relate each other equally. But hey, some communities, they do that. We do that with food too. Most of us might eat our food based on our likes and dislikes, but we're not eating it for health reasons. And how we know that is we wouldn't have all these restaurants and all these fast food places like McDonald's and Starbucks and all that if we were basing our food on our health, not based on our likes and dislikes and our convenience. Sex is very convenient for a lot of people. They can get it in many forms, and you don't necessarily have to be around other people to get that, because it's energy. Whether or not you're masturbating, that's still a form of it, because you're doing the motions still. Or a woman that dresses a certain way and they feel good about themselves, it's going to release certain kinds of energy. Or I'm blabbing at that point. I apologize, Jairo. So I'm going to go back to just the concept of lust. More times not what you're talking about, lust in its one area. You're talking about people abusing it, not having enough of it. Well, then we have people that have way too much money, people that have way too much clothing that they can never wear at any particular time. There's people that have an obesity when it comes to the size of their house. They think obesity is only because a person looks obese. No, we have an obesity when we reward people that have many cars. Actually, I don't say that. Yeah, we do reward them by giving them the moment of wow. Okay, that's fine. No different. Me looking at a beautiful forestry from a distance. Wow, that's me giving that attention and wowness. So, but it's when people think that they can tame it publicly. Forget about privately, publicly, and they say, "Well, yeah, I've abstained from it." Okay, I do what's called fab, or or you hear different sectors of human race that are monks, for example. I basically do chastity or whatever that's called. Well, then how are you helping the population grow then? Like, how did you come to be then if other forefathers thought the same thing the way you thought? You're asking basically a human being. Chinese cultures do it in the mob. I think that there's something to do with the pinky, but regardless, I'm not going to get into if that is a tradition. All gangs, cultures, they ask certain things to be initiated. So for a monk would be, okay, you just stop reproducing. Why? Because if you do reproduce, you're not going to favor our club as much as your family. That's part of the ploy. Nuns do it, priests do it. But just from the outside looking in as let's say I was a different species, I'm like, so you got people preaching about being better, but yet you're denying future generations? That's not a really good practice. Now, if you're going to talk about doing celibacy for a while, like fasting, so you can learn spiritually, that's one thing. But to make it a life journey.
I'd like to
Yeah, go ahead.
share what has been said about energy.
Mhm.
There's the physical energy, and then there's that energy of, like you say, what uh, things in motion, including mental motion, emotions.
Yep. Mhm.
Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it.
Well,
Match the frequency of the reality you want,
mhm.
and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. It's so it it's a meme someone puts out. It says Albert Einstein supposedly said that.
Okay. So again, Jairo, I always delete this part here about who said it. So now I will break this down. Everything is energy. Okay. Everything in the known is energy. Yes. And that's all that there is to it. To it. There's nothing complicated about that. But this is the energy in the known. There is essence to energy, to things. Match the frequency, because we use numbers. We use different kinds of languages to gauge it. So frequency comes in colors and sound and all that kind of stuff. Now, of reality, this is what we perceive with the senses. Reality is only perceived by the senses. And your wants. Wants is lack, what you lack. Most people lack awareness. They just do things, but they lack the nuts and bolts to things. And you cannot help. Yeah, you can't assist it. It is what it is. But get that reality, your senses again. It could be no other way. This is not philosophy. No, it is philosophy. And the physics is because, once again, whoever wrote this quote, whether or not it was Einstein or whoever, they're still caught up in the material. When you actually use language, you don't see it. Now, when you start questioning it with all the whys, most people just want to know all the hows. Philosophy is about the whys. Science and physics is about the hows, how to do things, opposed to why the things come to be. Because there's energy to it. We are the essence to things. God breathed into us, or us. That's the essence to things. Now, I'm using a word to describe the undescribable. It's like using the word air to describe that I never see it. So when you read that term there, everything. But what's the things that fuels the thing? What fuels things? See, everything for most people is what they can see. And there is energy fueling it, but do you actually see the energy fueling it? I could see a motor with its wheel moving, but do you see the energy? What do you mean? I'm looking at it. I'm energy looking at energy. One I can see, one I can't see. I could see the cell phone. I don't see the word that I give to it. That's unknown again, but I don't see it. This is why when people have arguments and debates, they're missing the whole ideal that you're not seeing the energy that you're using to describe what you do know. there's a rock. People will say over and over again, the rock doesn't move. I said, yes, it does. What do you mean? I said, the word you give is moving it, not the rock itself, not the material. It's like we're looking at what people call gold. You don't see gold. You see the same thing you see with what you see a rock. You see what we call an object or a thing. That's probably a better word. It's the thing. But what's the energy you give to that thing? By calling it a rock, calling it gold, calling it a car, calling it a tree. But where does
But
those...
but is everything really energy? What about space? There's no energy in space.
We're all guessing at that point, Jairo. Because, Jairo, I'm using a word to describe something that's undescribable. So I use the word energy. I don't see space. Looking up in the sky doesn't mean I don't see space. I don't see air. So air, space could be the same thing. Same with light. When you look up in the sky, you'll see two illuminated lights, but a lot of times, a lot of those are distracted with clouds in front of them, but you still do see light. But where does that light come from? Does it come from your senses? This is a game that anybody can play with themselves. Now, when a person's only trying to pinpoint their direction, I got to go to work, I got to make sure I raise my kids, I got to make sure I'm watching the traffic when I'm in the car. You're pinpointing your view. You're not going to see your vision on the left and right side, let alone from an unknown spot. Some people will use words like, oh, my pineal gland, or my eyes, or my ears. Those are just limited senses, and any of them could be misled. Even me, as I'm speaking, I could be talking and I call the word full of shit, but that's for me to learn. But somebody else will say, well, Dominic, but then how would I distinguish, and I listen to the word, how would I distinguish the difference between a car and a house? The same way somebody else in another country that uses the different languages. Then we use other language to gauge other things, such as, well, we're going to use a concept called a clock. Okay, so we're using words to describe that thing. And then we're going to put numbers along it, and we're going to put two little lines on there, like it's the sun and the moon, and the thing in the middle is the center point. And then we're going to call that time. But that isn't time. But those are gauges to the concept of what we call time. Because everything else, we use the word age all the time. Different age, we age. The body ages, not we. Maybe ultimately, whoever or whatever we are, the essence, as I use the word essence, never ages. So it doesn't need to be reincarnated. And if it does get reincarnated, what? Just get reincarnated in another thing, whether it's a tree or another human being? A human being, even that, there's two different parts. And most people live precariously through the human aspect, the animal aspect. But yet, some people will say, yeah, but animals don't know how to create high buildings. So you ask most human beings, do you know how to build it? Well, not really. So then you're acting like a human then, like an animal. Did you make the car that you're driving? Not really. Do you think you made the vessel that you're in? No. Same with animals. No, they don't have that intellectual. And I'm kind of glad we don't have that ability, Jairo, because we'd be very destructive. Because we've introduced the idea that there is military devices that we can harm people. And it doesn't just come in that. They invent the concept of money. Once you invent the concept of fiat currency, enough people want it, then you can take it away from them because you become attached to it. But the system itself was never set up. Man-made system was never set up to perpetuate itself. Nature is set up that way, and nature can be very cruel to itself. It will actually, lightning will strike down a forest tree and destroy it all for the purpose of the next generation. And how many people would say, okay, well, we're just going to go down to Florida and destroy Florida and then basically rebuild it up again. If you grasp the concept of watching, superhero movies, always the villain and the bad and the good guy are going through major cities, destroying it. So that helps the next generations for more work. It's called make work. Jairo, I think you're trying to talk, but I can't hear you. I saw your mouth moving. Sorry if I've been talking over you. My apologies, Jairo. Let me see. I want to make sure that it's not my thing that's off. Give me a second. No, it's not my side. Oh, you're muted, Jairo. That's why. Jairo, did you want to say something? Jairo, there you go.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay. Sorry, Jairo, you might have been talking. I apologize. I didn't hear you.
I had to answer a phone call
Oh, okay.
and I just hung up. So what did I miss?
Well, it's recorded, so if you find that's of value, like, Jairo, you give me an opportunity just to blab, and I'm grateful that you do. Sometimes I get more upset with myself because I'm like, because really this is a personal journey, and I don't classify myself as a teacher to others. I'm a student to myself, and I'm probably even a teacher to myself. But when it comes to others, the only person that they should be arguing with is with the self, because the self is the one that, again, we use words, self, ego, mind. Even the other day I was questioning with Judith, who came up with the concept of the word ego. We use all these different words, and then you cross it over with different languages. Well, this is how you say it in Sanskrit. Okay. So you ever question the fact that how did the human race have all these different variations of languages? Well, this is the way it is. No, it's a why. It's a why. Why did we have all these different languages, let alone how? But yet people will get upset. Well, it's scientific. I just said how. That's the word for scientists. In my interpretation, when you're doing a pursuit, the hows. How do things work? That's very scientific. So some kids would probably go to the beach, put it in their mouth, and they say, well, I do understand a little thing. It's kind of grainy. But yet people will quote shit. I hate the word shit, but they'll quote things. Well, science, give me a name. Why? Because there's people that go around saying Christians. I said, okay, so now we have a name. Now what's their teachings? What are they saying out loud? It's not even their teachings. What are they sharing? Well, we live in a world where there's gravity. Last time I remember, it was a theory. What do you mean? Well, theoretically, me and Jairo could say, okay, well, something keeps us down here, so we'll use the word gravity. I'm using the word magnetic. How do we explain the birds then? How do we explain a leaf moving then? Well, it's lighter weight. I said, okay, so gravity deciphers the difference? Could be.
Oh, is gravity and energy? There's nothing in motion.
Yeah, no, but the word gravity is energy. Me saying, okay, Jairo, when I say the word gravity, there's energy being perceived outwards with it. And then when you receive it through the concept where people use the word Kabbalah, receive, you're receiving not from me, you're receiving from around that either exists within you or around you. And it will quickly, it's like a high-tech computer, say the word gravity, and then you receive it, and then you have a thought.
But what about not the word gravity, but the meaning of gravity? What is gravity? Does it have energy?
Well, in that case, we would be giving meaning, hence the word meaning. We're giving meaning to it. We're giving it attention through meaning. Some people give it attention through comprehension, and now, of course, we're going to go quickly through a computer version of consciousness, and you're going to type it in there. Gravity is a form.
I looked up gravity. Does gravity have energy? And according to 7 sources, yes, gravity is a form of energy.
Yes.
If there is a gravitational field, then it has energy.
Yes.
There are well-defined rules in Einstein's theory to calculate the energy per unit volume in a gravitational field.
Yes, because you're narrowing the experiment, and then you're going to use things that we can relate with. So we understand language such as numbers. So Jairo, I'll give you an example. If a person's ever been around electricity, high voltage electricity, that's energy. That energy is a magnetic pole. It's magnetic. Now, you'll get a sense that it's grounding you because we're also standing on ground, but then heat gets generated. So now, when they say as above, so below, I'm leaning towards there's a magnetic energy up there called the sun. There's a magnetic energy that people have philosophized in past that's below us. There's a polarity. I don't value the concept as the moon as it is a polarity to a certain point, but I treat it more like it's a satellite dish. This is why when people say we have so many satellites up there, I said, no, you have one main one. You have the moon. You don't see all the other satellites ever crossing that. This is why when the moon crosses over, excuse me, it crosses over the sun, there's an eclipse. The eclipse, what happens is other parts of the world, the water will go away from the shore and vice versa, because there's a polarity coming from the sun. And then that thing in the middle, which is the moon, it's interfering for a while. It's almost like a magnifying glass. I'm yapping a little bit again here, but there is polarities and what we call gravity attraction. So it's like lightning. Lightning strikes from the top and also comes from the bottom. We don't see what's under us, and it's just as strong as what we see above us.
So does gravity affect energy? Yes, gravity affects energy. Gravity generates energy. It is the conviction of energy. Energy is entirely fluctuating mass. It is kinetic energy. Potential energy is just the perspective to start. So if gravity starts mass, it utilizes energy.
Okay, so Jairo, the Latin word, you have the here over here on the right-hand side, weight. This is where it gets miscued. We think everything that goes up comes down based on weight. It's a different kind of weight, because then you'd have to explain feathers and you would have to explain birds. They eventually all have to land, but they can hover. So now the energy that we're aware of is not the energy that's coming from the sun and from underneath us. It's a different kind of energy. We have a lesser version of it, such as what fuels cars, what fuels batteries, what fuels your liquids in your bodies. I'll give you an example, Jairo. It was my experiment. It was one of those aha moments, and it just trickled me down that inquiry that I know about myself. I jumped out of a plane once, parachuting. It gave me a physical experience to sit, okay, when I'm on the beach, it's pretty hot. But when I go up higher, why is it colder? Because it's not what we think it's heat up there. If we went further down, lower below the lowest point that we're ever able to dig, it would be what they call hellfire. We would be in so much heat pulling from the bodies that we're in. Because when we're here, we're like in the middle point, middle earth. We're at the middle point. The two polarities, this is the condition we're in. We go too high, it becomes too cold. That's one form of element. We go too low, then it becomes more hot. It's a tough one, because most people, when they're on the beach, they're thinking they're getting their tan from up there. Yes, you can tan. This is why when they've done experiments, you can cook an egg both with ice as much as you can with fire. But it's not fire that we're talking about. We're talking about.
But then but some people say gravity is energy, but here it says no, it's not.
No,
see,
we're describing
energy and gravity. 13 facts you should know. Energy is the potential to do work, but gravity is the potency by which a planet or other corpus pulls out the entity concerning its center. According to general relativity, a bit of energy configuration is the origin of gravity. So maybe gravity comes from energy, from mass. Energy is defined as the accessible property fetching to a body or substantial system identifiable in the execution of the work and the configuration of heat and light, and it is preserved quantity. What? Gravity is defined as the force that captivates the body concerning the middle of the earth or regarding somewhat material body having mass. This so is gravity energy? No, gravity is mainly the reciprocal action arbitrated by the gravitational field. The interactivity is distinguished by the energy that we call potential energy, which can be the ability to do work. It can obtain by transforming into kinetic energy by conducting gadgets into movement. The gravitational field may also bring energy to its individual in the contour of gravitational waves. That might be kinetic energy. This period is analogous to the movement of the gravitational field, but the field is additional than its energy contentedness. What? There's something wrong with this English. But there's people that talk about other kinds of energy that are not physical, that are maybe new agey. Oh, let's see. The meaning, the meaning of, what is the meaning of that quote that is attributed to Einstein, where everything is energy and that's all there is to it? It was actually by Daryl Anka. So you match the frequency of reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. But look what it says here. Everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. But what exactly does this profound sounding insight into the nature of the universe means? Is everything really energy? And is this really a robust physics or just pseudo-scientific philosophy?
Jairo, can I spin some words here, okay? I'm going to use the example of a hammer and a nail. We call one object a hammer and another one we call it a nail. In its hammering down, there's an effect that has from it. Now, let's say we live in a different part of the world or a different universe where they call the hammer the nail and they call the nail the hammer. It doesn't matter whether or not the nail or hammer, how we call it. Because for most people, if they're looking at it from a scientific, they want to know how it works. So whether or not it's gravity or energy, it's how it affects each other. We don't know the cause of what nation decided to call this energy and this one gravity. Even if you gave a name to it, it's still, then you would have to ask, okay, so then who gave the person its existence in their name? So gravity works a certain way, and we call it energy, and vice versa. Energy actually is in a form of calling something gravity, and gravity does something with other things, what we call energy. It has its effects and many side effects. This is why when we have a language, the meaning is its side effects. Language can come in a form of, people speak Greek. Its side effect could be comprehension. Sanskrit could be healing. Those are all side effects. So now if you're looking at it from a very scientific point of view, how does it interact with itself? This is why we have elements. We call things H2O for gauging what we call water. And again, the energy that we give to that thing called water is by calling it water. I can swim in it, I can throw things in it. Those are other side effects that we can do. But
so
to try
you're
to
talking about the mental energy by labeling something whatever,
yes.
then it goes into your inner self, and it like cascades and generates this and that. So that's the power. That's the power of that word to do all these different things but
Yes.
then it's kind of it's kind of unpredictable because it depends on when that word is spoken in your mood and what
Yes.
you're up to.
So now, when you say it's mental, yes, the physical is still a linear thing. That'll be like me and you having a conversation about your mother that just fell down. We're talking about how the possibilities, but meanwhile, she fell down. So it's the same ideal here. The physical that people talk about, they debate always constantly or talk and describe it in the mental. The thing that they're talking about, the physic, is just a linear thing. That's all it is. It's there. Whether it's a rock, it's whatever we describe it, it's still in the mental, but it's still a thing. If you could see everything, you'd realize everything is just a thing that we give language to it. So mental energy is to describe it. How it works is still mental. How I feel about it is mental. How I debate about it is still mental. Using my arm without having a word is physical. But if I had to describe it from an outside person, I would say he used his hand. That's all mental words to strike him, the word strike. But the person would have to actually experience it on a physical level to confirm everything I said mentally. This is why when we write down words, that's in the physical. But when we start having thoughts and we start speaking out loud, what's written down on black and white, then it becomes a mental construct. So biblical stories are mental construct. When a person uses their imagination and then describes it, now they're using their mental construct. So now the physical, it is what it is. You see a thing up in the sky, we call it a thing. Which one are we talking about? The clouds, the sun, the moon, the plane, the birds. We're using our mental concept to describe each individual thing. It's when people think that mental experience and the physical experience are equal. They're not even close. Some of them are more parts than others and vice versa. We have way more experience because we're sentient beings. We actually use our mental capacity and intellectual. We have more experience through that energy called mental than we do in the physical. People can experience being in Australia through the visual of a technology than they can actually physically in all
So
the different parts.
perhaps we should separate or say that there's two kinds of energies. There's the physical energy and there's the mental energy. And we should know which one we're talking about because they're totally different.
But okay, Jairo, so as you're trying to describe the physical, are you not using the mental? See, if you're sitting there and you're just looking at a sunset and you're not saying a word and not having a thought, then you're actually doing that.
Because when some people talk about energy, they might be referring to the mental kind of energy that influences psychology. Whereas when physicists talk about energy, they're talking about energy that can be gauged and that can be fitted into equations and measured and tested and repeated experiments.
So Jairo, hold on, Jairo, before you go on, Jairo.
One country can do the same experiment in another country and the results should be pretty much the same.
Okay, Jairo, you said something and you overlapped yourself on that. If they use numbers or gauges, that's all mental, all of that. Physics, using somebody to call somebody a physician is mental.
Yes, tracking, keeping data or writing down data.
All mental. It's all mental.
It's mental, but it represents something that is physical that can be reproduced. Like
hey, Jairo, you have a thing, and I'm going to narrow it down to one simple thing. You have a thing that we call a hand. Okay, that thing you could use thousands of different languages to describe the one thing that's physical. Thousands. So now the mental has the ability that it can move everywhere. The physical is still there. So when a physics wants to spend time rolling a rock, this is how we construct a whole industry over a child's game. Every word that a physician uses, every word, I'm a physician. I'm a parent, I'm smart, I'm stupid. That's all mental. All of it is mental. The physical is this there. Nature is this there. The tree, when I describe it as mental, the thing is still there. It doesn't matter if it sticks up like a branch or it falls over. I'm still using my mental capacity. Then when we play this clever game that I think, well, time is a clock and a watch. No, it isn't. Those are gauges to identify things. That's all it is, to identify. But it doesn't make it that just because you call it.
Like, you know, in your profession of electricity and wiring things up, there's gauges, and
Yes.
and then there's the standards used, so that in the industry, or at least locally, every other electrician will use the same standard gauges, and so that way, if you have to do something over again, and one technician says, oh, it was this many voltages, and then the other technician will write it down and say, and then go to the house and verify, yes, it's that many voltages, you were right. So there's conventional and standard way of doing things, and so those things allow for agreements.
Jairo, what I'm trying to do is to go way before all of that program and shit that's going on. I'm sharing with you to be aware of the program that you're in. Now, electricians, yes, you want to use a very simple example. Some parts of the world, you use amperage more than you do the voltage. In different states, there's different policies. Then you can start questioning, so who gives us all these different policies? You're talking about all its side effects. I'm trying to get you to at least become aware of some of its effects. Forget about the cause. The cause, you're still stumbling in this part of the world by talking about physicians and mathematicians. You're still talking from some of its little roots. And they're not that even important. Actually, they're not even roots. They're the leaves on some of the trees' branches, where energy in general, it's always here. Tesla just stumbled across it. He was able to doing certain kinds of things. He was gifted in certain ways, but also being in an environment.
Tesla involved physics, and in physics, you have to be very technical and consistent in the terms that you use, like voltage, in relationship to current and resistance.
Yes, Jairo, if a species came here
to make sure that you're using the same units, like amperes for current.
Those are all programs, Jairo. Those are all
for voltage, and ohms for resistance, and you can break it up into milliohms and things like that.
I'm going to share something with you, Jairo.
Consistent way of doing things.
Yes, for patterns.
You can develop an industry and get things done productively and consistently and accurately. And when you mass produce something, all the customers will get the same thing. Okay,
Jairo, you're talking about the end user. I'm going to share something with you, Jairo. Just hear me out, okay? Because I don't expect you to get into, wanting more inquiries about this. In the 1400s, certain beings introduced themselves to the species called human beings. And those ones there that were somewhat intellectual on a human level wanted to know how the essence works with the known. So what they said, we'll have to teach you backwards. So all the technology we're using now is backwards technology. This is why when they find out and a certain jet comes to them from another plane, they have to reconstruct it backwards to see how it works. So Tesla, this was in one of those industries. They were being presented to see how energy fuels everything like trees and cars. We're still caught up and everything has to be mechanical, and we have to get energy to work and drive mechanical things. We're just slowly learning that everything can be wireless. The electricity that we're using today is so old, Jairo. So now that standard you're basing it on is to feed the masses. Now, there is wireless electricity. It exists. We just don't know how to harness it.
That's called electromagnetic wave propagation.
Sure. Again, Jairo, we have to use a language that we and our forefathers have been presented to, but certain languages do not exist in our species, called creation and formation language. So we're already at a disadvantage because the few that have that ability, bonus for them. Now, how they choose to use it, it all depends on the masses, what they want. If the masses want to be ignorant, then give them what they want, what they lack. They lack awareness, so let's give that to them. Let's give it to them in like in little dribbling forms. So every so often we'll get a person like Einstein and Freud and all that, but then people will actually take their information and dumb it down. Because if they truly are ahead of human race's ability, then most of us would either understand it, and we don't. Most people, what they do is they read it, they know of it, but they don't understand that it's been dumbed down. So now the gravity that we're talking about is dumbed down, because if you even test it, you'd realize it has many holes to it. So now, if you're going to do the examination, we'll have that conversation. But if you're going to throw other people around me, then put them in my face. But they're not alive anymore. So you would have to go inwards.
The reason why it's dumbed down is because people in the factory have to mass produce these things in the assembly line, and you have to dumb it down to its basic constituents, and so you have to define things carefully and not go anywhere beyond that. So when you define energy, you have to dumb it down to energy is this, and then people like to use the word energy for other things, and that maybe it's correct, but that makes things more complicated.
Jairo, when I say dumb down, most people want the life of convenience and comforts. So they want to be dumbed down. They don't want to learn how to work with magic. They want to understand how to build a thing that we overall call a car. They don't want that. So what they do is they give what the society lacks. They want to see royalty that's been dumbed down. I want the life of luxury, opposed to, what do you want to do the parts? No, you don't. So most people don't want to be a scientist. Most people don't want to be a philosopher. Even most priests, they're not philosophers anymore. They're there just to get a retirement. So they give the masses, not the few, they give the masses what they want, what they lack, not what they need. Most people don't even want to grow their own food. So why would they give a child the ability to know how to harvest, to understand where the sun and the moon have to be to grow their next crop? Jairo, we're all in the same boat, but we're fascinated by the technology of a computer, but not fascinated by the technology called the body and how it works. You know, that's where we're at, Jairo. So that's what I mean when I say dumb down. When somebody tells me science, I know they're dumbed down. Same with religion. Oh, I'm religious. You're dumbed down. What do you mean? You like the convenience and comfort that I can put something in one word. They educate people on Facebook. Just give a thumbs up and thumbs down. Give me emoji. But yet ask somebody to really, really think with their feelings right there beside them and saying, fuck, I'm full of shit.
Yes. Remember MySpace?
Yes, that was another platform. Yes.
Before Facebook, that platform, it had the ability for one to get under the hood and make it your own space. But
Jairo, you're missing. Jairo, hold on, Jairo. Forget about the
there came Facebook. It was simpler, and so that overcame MySpace. So everyone moved to Facebook. Why is that? That's because Facebook is dumbed down.
Okay, Jairo, you're missing the obvious.
So, and then also there's Twitter. Twitter is even dumber than Facebook.
Yes, but look at the result of the masses, Jairo. Forget about the program itself. So the word, Jairo.
See what I'm trying to say?
Yes, but you're talking it from a programmer that's playing with small programs. They're all created.
That when you dumb down things, they become more popular because people like things dumbed down.
Because Jairo, that's one thing they're going to understand. The word MySpace, and Facebook, both were created from the same source. They just want to see which one are you going to think is more popular. That's it. People aren't questioning
what I'm
who's
saying is that, as an example, is that before, when Facebook didn't exist, there was MySpace, and it was as popular as Facebook is now, and it was even more capable. You could do a lot more things with it,
okay.
Get under the hood and create almost a website for yourself.
Jairo, everything that you just say is talk.
Facebook is different. It's like, no, you're gonna do it our way, the Facebook way, and then they add more features little by little, but it made it more popular than MySpace, and now everyone moved from MySpace to Facebook. It seems
Jairo,
like
you said words that is a dumbed down word. Popular.
Yes.
Everything that you add on top of that, everything that you say after that is dumbed down. Even
the secret to becoming popular is to dumb it down.
No, the secret, Jairo, is to be raised by parents that don't have a fucking clue how to raise human beings.
So if you want to, if you want to be successful in a business, then you have to dumb down your product.
Okay, Jairo,
I'm gonna person.
This is where I get frustrated with you, Jairo. You're jumping around and you don't even realize.
I'm just saying what I'm saying. I'm just sharing what I think about the word dumb down. It may be different from how you're using it, but that's what I'm sharing. That
the language is dumbed down, Jairo.
That doesn't upset you.
No, I'm getting frustrated because you're saying things, but you don't know when somebody's trying to break into it for a conversation and vice versa. Down.
I'm just trying to express, share what I mean by dumb down.
My apologies.
And it seems to be upsetting you. I don't know.
Well, that's my stupidity. And I apologize, Jairo. And the thing is, I was just giving a small example of dumbed down. So we don't have creation and formation language. Anything after that is dumbed down. So the English language we're using to describe things is a dumbed down version. You don't have the ability to communicate with that thing that we call a tree with a certain kind of language to actually ask it to move. That's dumbed down. The written work is even more dumbed down. So anytime you read anything, Jairo, that's even a deeper version of being dumbed down. So because there is nothing that jumps up. Go ahead.
That languages get dumber and dumber? They get dumbed down?
No, they can be scattered and confused. Even biblical stories about it. You scatter your languages. It's dumbed down. It has a lesser purpose to it.
Say that Greek is a comprehensional or comprehensional language.
Yeah, that's right.
Because maybe that's why philosophers that were very exact in their thinking use the Greek language, but English and other language are meaningful language because maybe they're dumbed down. Their grammar rules have been dumbed down or made simpler, so people get things done quicker. So
this is where I can share now, Jairo. When you take a language, when I say we don't have creation language because it's been split, English is one version of it. Sanskrit's another version, Hebrew's another version, Greek's another version. When you split something, you've dumbed it down. It's no longer whole. So when somebody wants to philosophize, they got to go to one language. When somebody wants to heal, they go to another language. Can you imagine if you had one language that could do it all? We wouldn't be able to comprehend that, Jairo, because I would only be able to do it from comprehension.
So all these different split up languages are like specializations that they specialize into something.
No, well, yeah, in a way, yeah, you can use the word specialized because that's how we break down somebody that has multitask.
Maybe English and German are good for technology, They specialize in that, maybe?
No, it's Jaro, if you had a language that can oversee all of that, you wouldn't go to this one language. It would be almost like what we call telepathic. You could actually do things with thoughts. You no longer have to speak it with numbers or colors or Sanskrit or English. This is why the gods were able to give back, not give back Sanskrit to a certain tribe of people. This is how you scatter people. You divide and conquer. You divide the language, then you can conquer them. Why? Because they're too busy bickering with each other, thinking one language better than the other one. I said, no, they're just the parts. And if you think that one language is better than the next one, that's why it's dumbed down. Writing is probably the lesser dumbed down version. Writing symbols is the lesser version. It's a dumbed down version. If you're an ultimate being, and then you can see a symbol, but you can have many different kinds of ideals, and you can manifest things by just looking at a symbol. My goodness, Jairo, you wouldn't have to build these big factories to build a car. You would have a thought. But then again, you think, why would I even stop at a car then? Why don't I just port myself to another realm? You could. This is what I'm saying. It's dumbed down. Now, whether or not I'm using my imagination.
What are the benefits of dumbing something down?
Well, some of the benefits is that we were very destructive as creatures, or not obedient, because, you know, they have stories that there was different versions of creations. And one of us, where we weren't just created with a human head, we were created with many variations of heads. But then we became very disobedient. It goes back to, I think, the concept of what we call disobedient is because people that create us want to live probably in luxury and comfort. And they want the rest of us to do all their work. And there was other beings that said, no, we don't want to do that. You gave us the ability that we can think for ourselves. We don't want to be with you. But humans have been dumbed down. We don't have the ability. We have the ideal that we can think for ourselves, but our action doesn't show it. Everything that you have, Jaro, is you're relying on somebody else, whether or not it's other human. Go ahead.
The problem of attention span and multitasking, maybe dumbing things down is suitable for our shortened attention span and trying to get several things done at the same time.
Well, we have that feeds the scatter part. How many people can actually hold a certain yoga pose for long periods of time? Not everybody can do that. And even that, their mind's going to wander, because we have the potential of going back and using what we were having a long time ago. It's not even time, ages ago. But the thing is, it's been blocked, because whether our ancestors or maybe just us, maybe we've been here the whole time. The essence of us has always been here. And now we're not allowed to be in big forms, let alone we were the clouds. You know, we don't really know the potential of humanity or the destructiveness of humanity, because they coexist every time. Think about how much military stuff we have, how much stuff that we do, so much cloning. Because the reason why we do a lot of cloning with foods and all that is because most people don't want to do their own, they don't want to take care of themselves. Spending all day going backwards and going to a university or college or learning an apprenticeship to do a job so that eventually I can go back home to a house that I no longer make and I no longer fuel, I've actually gone backwards. I've become more dependent. That's the dumbed down version, where a person, you shall see them. I'm going to go out into woods, cut down some lumber myself. I'm going to build my own house. How many people would even have the ability to do that? Forget about wanting to do that. Have the ability to do that. Jaro, I know I can't do that. And I'm honest with myself.
So how can we dumb down this meeting today in a few words?
Oh, no, don't do that, Jaro.
Describe what we can learn from this, listening to this.
Everything is possible. Everything is possible if a person chooses to look at the possible and the impossible. But most people aren't going to stretch their minds to that capability. I struggle with it. And the fact that you give me a platform and all that, and yes, I do struggle, Jaro, because I think you were trying to share certain things. And yes, you probably were trying to share things, but I was in my train of thought, and that's listen to the word train of thought. But again,
able to share something about was whether Jesus was lustful or free from lust. And then I tried to share energy. It seems like there's the physics energy that's used to send a rocket to space. and then there's the energy that's kind of everywhere, and we're creating our reality with it, kind of energy.
Well, when the rocket's going up in the air, what energy is
We
it
talk
breaking through?
about dumb down,
Yeah, we
and
are
then
dumb down.
and when we dumb down, it seems like, well, my thesis is that the benefit of dumbing down is that people are attracted to it, or they get it, they get something. Maybe it's the wrong thing. Maybe it gets
Energy,
people pissed off.
energy travels to the strongest source, like water. Most people do not want, let alone lack, let alone need to learn this kind of stuff. So if majority of the people are in a state of ignorance or unaware, that's the strongest energy out there. That's the dumb down that I'm talking about, Jairo. Now, whether or not, just because we all start thinking, oh, you know something, Dom, I want to be consciously aware. Okay, just because you're the one, you just have to go on the highway to see thousands of people driving on some major highway, aimlessly driving because they've been conditioned that these are the bumpers that you can only drive in. That's the conditioned part. There's nothing amazing about that. Now, whoever created all those cars, that could be amazing. No different who all created all the trees in the sun. That's amazing. But the thing is, most people, we're like a version, and it's not even fair to make the analogy of an ant, but we're similar to that. We're not amazing, Jairo. We've lost that awness about ourselves. And then every so often, somebody will invent a technology like YouTube and Zoom, and people will use it, but they'll never truly use it and say, listen, I really got to know a couple of people. And they actually do really try to expand their brain.
So what would you like to talk about next time we meet tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for Wake Up and Think Clearly, starring Dominic Tersini and others? I invited a friend, a female, Lucia from Venezuela. Maybe she'll pop in.
Well, Jairo, it is your platform. I only make suggestions because I don't hear your suggestions. And when you do have a suggestion, I go with it. So whatever you want to use, whether it's a word or whether you want to use the word love, gravity, energy, anger, friendship, I'm game, because I realize, for me anyway, a lot of those things do interconnect, whether or not I'm playing a game with myself, but I put it out there that I think they interconnect.
Everything is interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, everything is a form of energy, because mass is like a form of potential energy, because you could blow it up and convert it into fire or energy, or blow it like a bomb. Comes from a mass.
See, John, I try not to control the conversation by its topics. That's why I don't value the ideal. Now, do I have my own control issues? Damn right I do. But I try not to control the topic, even though I just tried to do that just a while back there when I was trying to overseed you, because I'm used to, if I'm saying something and then I hear somebody else's voice, I just keep quiet because they might have something to say. I don't go, when I go on a tangent and nobody intercedes, I just keep going. Now, if a person says, Dominic, I want to say something, just make a noise. I will keep quiet because no matter what I have to say, I'm my own student. I'm just talking out loud. I'm in my car talking out loud.
I will try to encourage new people to don't be afraid to interrupt forcefully. Otherwise, you'll never get a word in.
No. It's for me anyway, Jairo, it's not forcefully. If a person says to me, Dominic, or say something, I keep quiet because I know they might have to say something. It'll be like I'm in line and all of a sudden somebody bumps me. I said, I'll turn around. I'm not so self-absorbed. Most people, they are self-absorbed because
it's because maybe they're being too polite and they're waiting for a break of silence in your conversation.
And that's the area.
But it seems like it's a long sentence that has no period.
You know something, Jairo? People like Anthony Robinson have preached this stuff, and most people don't grab it. Grab it. It's yours to grab. I'm going to be the example. I'm not going to be offended if somebody said, Dominic, I want to insert, then go. But unfortunately, I'm not into.
I will remind new people that come in, do not be intimidated that this kind of meeting is what is it, chaotic, is is if you want to say something, try to jump in, even if it causes the person to have to stop their train of thought.
You know something, Jairo? That golden rule, do unto others. To me, I don't have no qualms of saying something to intercede, and then hopefully you'll just keep quiet so I can say something. And then when you want to say something back to me, you do the same thing. I'm not into putting up your hands, but if that's your platform, I will respect it, meaning that I'll consider those are the rules, and I'm okay with that. But when there's no rules, then you have to see what all the rest of the Romans are doing. You shouldn't have to tell other people, but hey, if they're going to intercede, be prepared. Somebody could do it to you. That's how you give and take, pass it forward. For me, Jairo, when you go on, I respect it. But when you start going on about other people, they're not here. I don't want to hear you representing other people. I want to hear you. For me, when I talk, rarely do you hear me talk about names. It's of no concern unless it's an example because somebody else used it. To me, I'll talk about dumbing down, and I'll even justify it or give some sort of definition, or the word justify is probably the better word because that's my own personal opinion on what I perceive as that. Now, if you want to bring in a dictionary view on it, you're bringing somebody else. Now, if you want to read it on your own, on the side, and then you say it in your own words, I'll hear you. But when you do that, I'm like, Jairo, I'm not here to compete with other people. At all. It's of no interest to me whatsoever. So that's why I'm an agitator to me. I'm not here to sell myself pleasantries. Other people can do that for themselves. So if they're in my presence and they get all upset, I said, then you're not true to yourself. If you're truly true to yourself and you want to be sold pleasantries, meet those kind of people. Because I'll tell you straight out, I'm not here to sell you pleasantries. I'm not here to even sell you agitation. I will agitate.
Oh.
For me.
It's that time it's that time to pull out a words of wisdom for the day from the bucket of knowledge of good and evil. Let's see what we get here. Oh, it says the noble task of arms control and disarmament cannot be accomplished by confrontation and condemnation. Hostile attitudes only serve to heat up the situation, whereas a true sense of respect gradually cools down what otherwise could become explosive. We must recognize the frequent contradictions between short-term benefit and long-term harm. Maybe Biden should read that.
Jairo, that was a personal quote for oneself. Armament. They're not talking about military stuff. They're talking about what's attached to your shoulders.
That could be armament in personal situations too.
It's always, Jairo, you're allowed to defend yourself with your own arms. I don't have my picture on, but arms. Armament. They're talking about your own arms. You can harm a person with your arms because they're attached to your shoulder and attached to your hand. That's all about oneself. To disarm oneself. Don't always feel as though you have to do actions to defend or attack another because it reveals yourself.
But armed also suggests to me that you are holding on to a weapon. Like, he's got a knife in his hand. So
that's an extension.
Armed.
Jairo, that's an extension. Philosophers of old never, unless you're talking about a pick and a sword and you're a farmer, you'd be talking to a farmer. Philosophers never talk to military people, Jairo. So they're not talking about the weapons. That's an extension of the arm. You're allowed to defend oneself with their own arms. That's exactly what it means. That's exactly what they were talking about. They weren't talking about the extension. Anything outside being held by the hand has nothing to do with the arm. So disarm oneself. Don't always feel as though you have to do something to defend or attack the self. To defend the self is to actually attack another self. That creates karma. Remember, Jairo, you weren't born with weapons unless you want to use what you were born with as a weapon. See, this is why when you read things, Jairo, that's the dumbed down version. You're not seeing how it was written. Philosophers do not preach to military men.
Mm.
They just don't, because they realize you already have the weapon in your hand. We already know where you stand.
Mm.
Why would I preach to the ones that aren't teachable?
Mm.
So anytime you hear about armaments, you literally look at your arms.
Let us pray that the people that are armed may be teachable to disarm and
Maybe
bring about peace to the world.
can you, Jairo, can you also use those same arms to pick up a baby?
Yes.
Can you also in the next moment squeeze the baby?
Oh, yes.
So there's many things you could do with that arm. See,
Oh,
people
no.
use the metaphor of, well, we could use a plane to drop bombs, let alone drop food. I said, you don't have to go to that kind of technology. Just think about your own body. Can you actually grab your mother by the arm, with your
Yes.
arm, and walk her across the street safely? Yes, you can.
As in karate.
Yes, remember,
Karate means
Jairo,
open hand. There's
But-
nothing in the hand.
most creatures have what we call an arm, but not all of them have what we call fingers. So it's an extension of the arm. In this case, your hands. Think of all the beautiful things that human beings can and cannot do with their hands. But this is an extension of the arm. So this is why when they mean you're allowed to bear arms. That's what the Constitution was written like. You're allowed to bear arms. You're allowed to defend yourself with your arms. But it was only designed for the people that actually wrote the Constitution. So military men and basically police officers that work for the people that own the Constitution, that's the only people that are allowed to bear arms. Outside of that, you don't have to participate in their game unless you want to live in their, what most cities are called Babylon. Yep, there you go, waving your hand.
Yes, I have a question.
You have many questions for yourself, my friend. Go
So
ahead.
can I cut this meeting so that I can go to work?
Go. Say bye. Cut me off. Don't worry about
I'm
me, Jairo.
going-
I'm not going to be.
I'm going to work. Thank you, participants who joined. I invited Mike, but he's too far, and I invited Mark Iron Buddha, but he's in San Diego, and I invited Manny Gross, but he didn't have too much success in being able to interrupt Professor Dominic last time he was
Who's
here.
that? Who's that?
So he decided not to join with Professor Dominic in the
Sorry, you missed me. Who's the last person that didn't want to? Who was that? Who was that?
He excused himself saying, the last time I was here, I couldn't figure out how to interrupt the Professor Dominic.
So his feelings
Well,
were hurt.
He didn't say your name. He just said the professor.
And see, it's always the professor. That's a sarcastic comment. Next time you talk to him, say, listen, Dominic says your poor little feelings was hurt. Grow up.
So
Oh, those guys. Who was this? Who was this, by the way? This pure giggles. Who was it?
oh, it was one of that guy that I invited, and he showed up, and he mentioned that he had done some meditation or something, and then you to me you said something about that. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. See how quickly people, their feelings get hurt, but then they can't explain themselves when they try to recollect. The only thing they do is, and that's a racist comment, by the way, Jairo. When a person says one person hurt me, and then they figured, well, I'm going to remember that, opposed to grow some, be a real human being. Suck it up. I'm not here to sell pleasantry. And that guy, I would tell to his face, I said, you're a fucking moron. Just to see how he feels. Oh, my poor me. I'm not coming back anymore. Why? You came here for more fucking drugs? Solutions? And I hope he's hearing this, because you know something, you do need to challenge the self, yourself, not me. But if you want to do pleasantries, well, then explain the world. Explain how most human beings still are living in despair. But yet, no, it's all about me, self-absorbed fucking piece of shit punk. And I hope you're hearing this video.
Oh, he wrote, after joining your Zoom meetings,
Yeah, I got hurt.
a couple of Saturday mornings, I've decided to avoid the Zoom meeting with your fast talking overpowering professor friend. The fact
There's a,
that he
I'm a professor
interrupts
now.
everybody and doesn't
Mm,
allow others to speak
mm.
seems and felt abusive to me.
He was
So
abusive.
his feelings were hurt.
His
Hardly
feelings was hurt.
anybody got to speak up because of his
Oh, now he's speaking
behavior,
for other people.
which seems to be habitual.
It's habitual. And it's probably true. Then you know something, Gerald? You might have to make a decision down the road, which I'm okay with, and say, Dominic, if I want this to grow, maybe you're not the right fit for here. Or I'll do the same thing. I'm okay either way, Gerald. That's the difference. Because that person really wasn't trying to put an effort to say, okay, let's see if we can at least try to work this out. Because why? Was his dad over talking? I've already told you, if a person wants to talk, talk. Now, if there's rules and regulations, well, that's something they would have to talk to you about and say, Jairo, I'm going to make a suggestion. Maybe ask other people to put up their hands. Remember, because you're the moderator, you're the one that's hosting it all. And I'm okay either way, Jairo, because if it doesn't fit with me, I'm not going to go around and say, well, I'm not going to be here anymore because I don't like the way Louise hacks. No, I just reveal there's certain things he says and I'm okay with it, but I'm allowed to say it. Louise, you say things like, can we all agree? I'm just asking you to question, why do you say those statements? Not because I don't like Luis. I love the guy. I think he's a good human being. He tries the best for himself. He might even be fully aware. Maybe. I don't know. I can't speak on his behalf and I wouldn't be able to comprehend that. You know, it's so interesting how other people tell other people, and I do myself too, how they should behave and how they should talk. If they truly value your company, they can work around that.
So I enjoyed this conversation, and it was the first time I used live on YouTube. Maybe I should do that tomorrow morning, and that way I don't have to upload. That takes a lot of time to upload and things like that.
Works for you, Daryl. I'm okay whatever I say out of my mouth, whether or not there's rewards or consequences from it. So be it. You know, I don't put that much value to what people have to say about me personally, as long as they grasp it. But unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people do value what other people think. So they're really attached to something, aren't they?
Mm. So if I'll give new visitors a heads up. Oh, maybe I could say that if you want to talk to raise your hand, or you could find a way to interrupt.
Joe, you know what it comes down to, Joe? I know I'm holding you a little bit too long. I apologize. Where it depends on what you want to talk about and how you want to moderate. Because if you want to talk about a word, let's say the word love, you can keep it in track by saying, okay, anybody here have different views on it? And if you have different views, and stay true to the people that are there, you know, because if we're going to start saying, okay, well, what does Socrates say about love? You could go that direction, but I wouldn't favor that kind of stuff. I would say, Jairo, I'm not interested in talking about somebody else's view that's not there. You know, this is how we help each other better ourselves. Sure, I could talk about how other people are rich, but how does that benefit you? Because you're talking to another person that either A, is trying to become rich, we'll just say financially or in awareness, or how to be poor. You know, this is where people, I get it. A lot of people come to group meetups and all that. They just want to say, I'm bored, I'm lonely, which is fine. But what are you going to bring to the table besides just your boredom? You know, and I know a lot of people just what they want out of it, which is fine, but I'm going to share. Whether or not I'm going to share a love for my own personal selfish reasons or others.
So may tomorrow's meetup be be what it will have to be. May it be a place for bored people to be less bored.
Well, boredom is a sign of sadness. And I think a lot of us have experienced the concept of sadness, and we try to
then they could be sad. So we'll pull out the guitar and sing some happy songs and make them happy.
You can't, Charlie, you can't make somebody sad. So how do you get the idea that you can make them happy now? You could probably distract them long enough that they can pull out happiness out of them for themselves. But then what happens when they're gone? That could be a topic.
Well, we could sing a very sad song that's so sad that when they leave, they'll be happy to leave because they're no longer sad.
Maybe.
And hitting yourself on the head, when you stop, you feel better. So
Well,
that's
Jairo,
what we'll do. We'll sing sad songs, so sad that when I stop, they'll say, "Yay, he stopped."
you know something, Jairo? You enjoy doing karaoke, so that would be a true statement probably for you. I enjoy music too. There's certain types of music I like to listen to, and this type, whether it's the beat or the lyrics itself, and it does do different kinds of energy for me. If I can, I'm going to over encompass the word energy, emotions. Where other people, that might not be the right thing for them in that moment. Some people don't. Some people rather watch a funny movie when they're a little sad. Some people, when they're sad or bored, they rather play video games. That's how most people shake themselves out of boredom. You know, the energy behind boredom is usually sadness. You
That's
know,
an interesting topic. How music produces all wide range of feelings and emotions, and
yes.
how does it do that, and why do we become attracted to certain music at certain times? Is it our mood we're in? We prefer this kind of music or that one. Maybe we're on driving on the road, we want some music with a beat, so keep us awake. Things like
And I
that.
can expand a little bit by just going into different little areas. The planetary alignment affects that too, Jairo.
Wow.
You know, a lot of that has to do with it. Even the foods that we eat or the foods that we think about we want to eat, you know, how our body, the status of our body is. You know, these are all the different things that we have branches to it. I don't know what the roots to most of those things are, but I can share what I perceive as branches. You know, so and this is where some people don't want to expand that. What they want is give me an answer. How can we sum all that up so I can carry on with my own life?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Hey, Jairo, that's why people write books. And those books, I know when people write books, yes, and people have to hone in on their craft as writing a book. They probably spend hours and weeks and months revamping a chapter. So that's why people read books. Now, whether or not when you read it, you comprehend it, because other people figure, well, yeah, but I read the book. I said, but did you comprehend it? What do you mean? I said, comprehending the book and reading the book are two different things. You know, some people can comprehend things. They don't even have to read a book. And other people, I have to read the book over and over again. And then I have to be in the right state of mind to be able to take that information in. So that guy that's talking about, use as an example, meditation. So if you're truly listening, you can go beyond all the jargon that I'm saying, because the listening is done from within. What you're trying to do is forcing yourself to listen to another human being. That's not meditation. Meditation is when you listen inwards. You can hear me and hear others. I could hear sound, but I'm listening inwards. Or when people say, well, Dominic, I don't like when it rains. I said, well, then you're not listening. What do you mean? You're hearing what you want, but are you listening to what the world needs? The rain serves a purpose beyond your own little world. And this is where human beings are so self-absorbed, and then they get all upset. Oh, but what about you, Dom? I said, you're too busy being self-absorbed. You're not talking about me now. And I'm okay with that, Jairo, because I don't want it to be about me. Just because it comes out of my mouth, it's not me, meaning that I don't own the words. I don't own the way I express myself, but do I actually reap the rewards? Yes. Is there consequences? Yes. I'm not trying to put. Go ahead, Jairo. I'll let
good ideas from your sharing.
Okay. Goodbye. Get out of here, because I know I'm going to hold you up. Go. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, Jairo.